On your feet. Red light, green light, let my pulse away from me. I tried to break the window and I fell down to my knees. Back up, turn around, coming back for more. I do believe he's taking off full speed and locked the door. Lord. Well, take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. He stole my champagne bottle and my lucky silver cross. My baby gave him to me and I can't believe I lost. Wish I could remember where I was when this began. Another drink, I start to think the bottle is my friend. My friend. My friend. Long black limousine, won't you drive me home? I've been drinking all damn day, and now I got to go. Now if you see that limousine driving down the street, take my advice, no, don't think twice. Call the state police. Oh. Well, take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, 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 it won't be long. Oh, take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. Oh, no, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No. Take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. Oh, take another drink. The next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. I don't care what you think. I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, 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 it won't be long.
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. and one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talking Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, I hope you're doing all right. We got a busy show scheduled for you today, as long as everything is holding up here. I mean, with some real unlucky technical problems with hardware. I got bubble gum and shoestring, and it's a miracle. It's a miracle how things are working right now. But in any event, today's show is being brought to you in part by The Gentleman Boxer, a great read. Ian Grumeza, the author of the book, tells the story of Joe Grimm and other fighters in the bantamweight division from the roaring 1920s. Trust me when I tell you, you will not regret buying this book and reading it. It's an exciting book. You will not be able to put it down. Trust me. And if you can, let me know, because I'll be shocked. Get a copy of The Gentleman Boxer, where all good books are sold, including Barnes & Noble, Amazon, I think there's some other Brookhouse or something like that. But hey, listen, you want to know the easiest way to get the book? Visit our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on one of the Gentleman Boxer banners. Can't miss them. They're all over the website. Or just go on into the book club. We have a section called Billy C's Book Club. Check that out. You'll see some other great books that you might want to get your grubby little paws on. So get yourself a copy of The Gentleman Boxer now. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. And their event, which is taking place next weekend, next Friday, a Showbox event featuring Mayweather Promotions top young guns, man. Jalen Love, Mickey Bay Jr., and Bado Jack, all going to be featured on that card. Get yourself some tickets right now. You want to know the easiest way? Visit our website, of course, www.BillyCBoxing.com. Click on the fight poster, which is right there on the front page. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by LDL TV and Billy C's Boxino Weigh-In Special, which will be broadcast for free, the way webcast should be, on LDL TV on Thursday, 1 week from today, Thursday, February 27th, live from the weigh-in of the middleweight Boxino tournament. Joining us would be my man, who's in the middleweight tournament, the Haitian sensation himself, Daniel Edouard, and his opponent, Brandon Adams. We'll get to chat with them. Doing the deed with me, well, not exactly that, I guess she can't come, but doing the broadcast with me will be none other than Guinness Book of World Record holder, former contender Sal Senecola, and also Blakely Berger, who's from around that area. You can find his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. He's going to be joining us as well. So we're going to have a great time. If you're in the Hammond, Indiana area, which is outside of Chicago, make sure you stop on by and be part of the show. We'll get you on. If not, make sure you tune in 6 p.m. Eastern time on LDLTV.com. And finally, today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Titty Grab game. Listen, man, if you're looking for an adult break the ice game, look no further than the Titty Grab. Look no further than a couple of titties. I mean, the Titty Grab game. You know, you'll check it out, man. I'm sure you'll like it. It's a great game, especially if you got a couple of girls coming over and you and your couple of buddies. Maybe you want to get a little something later on in the night. Whip out a couple of beers, or if you're like me, a couple of scotches. Then when the time is right, you break out the game, and little something later on. For all the information about the Titty Grab game, visit their website, www.tittygrab.com. Now, coming up later on the show, we're going to talk about the big news. What really bothers me is all this talk about two fighters all the time, and it's like, give me a break, man. There's so many other fighters, and what scares me is today's fan. I hope that they're following it. I know most of the people that watch or listen to this show are diehard fans, so they're well versed. They watch and keep track of all the fighters. But the marginal or casual fan, it's a shame because they're missing out on some really good stuff, like the official announcement of Miguel Cotto and Sergio Martinez. We've been talking about this fight for a long time, but it was officially signed, sealed, and delivered late last night. So that's done. We'll talk about that a little bit later. A guy I absolutely can't stand. No, not him. Anthony Mundine, especially what he's done against here in the U.S., all of that happy stuff. He's fighting again, and I have a feeling that he's going to get his ass beat. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. How about Francois Botha? He's only 45. I thought he was like 55. The guy's been around since they invented, rocks. So we'll talk about him. He's going to be getting back in the ring. Bob Arum has some issues about Mayweather and some leaks about negotiations with Floyd Mayweather and not Amir Khan. We'll talk about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He's getting ready for his fight, which is next weekend. I got a couple of quotes from him, so we'll be looking for that. I got some thoughts. I was getting ready. I had updated all the stuff for the Billy C Challenge, and I have all the fights for the challenge this week. And I didn't get a chance to update the website. But I was looking at some lifetime stats, and I got some interesting things to talk about. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Some fights coming up in the heavyweight division. Amir Mansour, he's going to be fighting. We'll talk about that. And Eric Morales' brother, who's slowly and quietly amassed a 17-0 record. His next fight will be coming up fairly soon. He's a co-main event. We'll talk about that. We'll give you all the fights that are part of the challenge. All of that's coming up a little later, but first, I like to get some emails. Oh, and don't forget, we got my man. No, not giving quality. No, we got my main man, Larry Hazard. He's going to be joining us a little bit later, too. So we'll chat with him. We got some emails. This first one is from Alex Clark. And Alex says, "Hey, Billy C, I emailed you a few years back to see what your thoughts were on the prize fighter series in the UK. Now that the series has been going for quite a while, and it's a popular concept here in the UK, we have had entertaining fighters come through it, like Rocky Fielding, Martin Murray, Mike Perez, etc. And it seems that mostly the format is used to give a boost to either unknown boxers without the backing of a big agent or promoter, or to revitalize the career of an older fighter. It usually provides exciting fights due to the 3-round format and knockout bonus money. Though it has its flaws," and he puts in parentheses, keeping Audley Harrison in the ring, "it's not perfect, but it has become a regular on British TV. As far as I know, this type of format is not shown in the U.S. I know in Europe there are some similar tournaments like Bigger's Better, but I've seen nothing in the U.S. Do you think if a promoter in the U.S. used the format and managed to get on TV over there, they would be able to have a similar level of success?" First of all, Alex, glad to have you communicating with us again. That's great. Hopefully you've been watching and listening to the show since the last time we spoke. As far as the prize fighter tournament, I love it, man. I love it. I loved it when they announced it several years ago. I try not to miss them. I try to keep up to date on the not only the prize fighters tournaments themselves, but the fighters and where they go to. Didn't Big Bang Casey go from there? But anyway, I love it. I love the 3-round format. I love the fact that you have to take in consideration that if a fighter gets cut, he may not be able to continue, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I love it. No one's doing it in that format, but I think that we should credit the Prize Fighter Tournament for, reawakening the tournaments in general. Recall, after the Prize Fighter Tournament, we were treated to a fantastic super middleweight tournament on Showtime, which crowned a champion, Andre Ward, and we loved the Super 6 tournament. It featured all the best super middleweights. It did have its flaws. It dragged on too much. That's what I like about the Prize Fighter. It's all in one night. But then Showtime came back with bantamweight tournament that was, I think, 2 weeks, or maybe it was 2 shows or whatever, and that was much more successful. Now we're actually going through another tournament. Banner Promotions is with ESPN is putting on the Boxino tournament, which actually kicks off this weekend in the lightweight division, and next week in the middleweight division. Now, the way it works is the first heat is 6-round fights, then the semifinals are 8-round fights, and then the finals are 10-round fights. So, interesting stuff. I love the Prize Fighter Tournament. Would it work here if they did it? Here's the big difference, Alex. Over in England, you fans are much better. You have much better fans for boxing than we do. We have our fans, like the fans that watch this show, the diehard boxing fan is a very small percentage of all so-called boxing fans. There are some boxing fans that are, the water cooler guys. They watch the big names. They watch the big fights. That's it. They couldn't tell you anything else. So with that said, I think the lack of numbers may not have the interest the way it does on your side of the pond. The Prize Fighter, I know that the event itself is sold out all the time. They're always exciting and everything else. So I would love to see something like that here in the States. But I just think that our fan base for boxing is a lot more fickle than the Brits. The British fan base are. I was just talking about that when I was watching the fights from this past weekend with Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora, how crazy the fans were, how packed it was, and a diversified group of fans, which is something that we don't have the pleasure of seeing. We see a lot of fans for specific fighters, but that's about it. But anyway, I really appreciate you reaching out to me again. And I hope you can keep it up. Keep us up to date on what's going on. If you find out anything, we love the British boxing scene, and I certainly love the Prize Fighter. And I'll be looking forward to the next one, which is coming out in a few weeks. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some more emails to read. We got Larry Hazard coming up in about 15. All of that coming up. If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises at its finest. They have it all. Dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, and a full line of roll-off containers. Any job, big or small. Roselli is also the source for all your travel and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the #15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the #15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOBoxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Hey, man, don't forget, we got a lot of stuff going on this year and actually every day. But specifically, we got the International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend. We got 2 live broadcasts that you both signed, sealed, and delivered the Friday night, the Hall of Fame induction weekend bar in Syracuse, East Syracuse, and then Saturday we are going to be at Graziano's, which is the hub of the International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend, all day and all night Saturday. I think we go on air. It's going to be like a Jerry Lewis marathon. You don't want to miss this, man. We will be broadcasting for free, but if you're coming up there, make sure you stop by. We're going to have everybody and anybody is going to be part of this broadcast. A lot of the people that are on the show are going to be up there with us, so it's going to be great. We also got a hotel deal. The nicest hotel in the area, actually, aside from the Turning Stone, is the Marriott. And the Courtyard Marriott, and that's where we're staying, and we want you to stay there too. So go up to the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, click on the fight poster that says, it's on the left-hand side, that says the Hall of Fame thing, and it will link you right to where you can get information on the hotel and the discounts and all of that stuff, or just go to www.ldltv.com. And one of the things we're trying to do is get 10,000 Twitter followers by the time we get up there. We are under 4,000 right now, close to hitting 4. So do me a favor, please. Follow us on Twitter. It's at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing. And while you're at it, join our Facebook groups, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C and Billy C Boxing. So anyway. They got me, my man Caesar, he's in the chat room. He graces us with his presence. Then he's got me all teased, man. He's talking about what's going on with Aaron Hernandez, the guy that's in jail from the New England Patriots. I didn't hear anything. I was wondering if there was an update on him. I had predicted that this guy was going to get let off from day one. All the evidence that they have pointing at him all seems circumstantial to me. The funniest thing, me and Brooklyn Mike, we broke down and looked at the photo of what they call a gun in his hand. Listen, we enlarged it, we froze it. I took that video, I did it 100 different ways, and it looks the closest thing I could say that it looks like is a harmonica. I mean, there was no way. I don't even care if Ironside himself was the lawyer for the case. It's not going to happen. Anyway, let me get back to boxing. Alex Mayweather. It goes by Alex Mayweather. Alex, is your last name really Mayweather? Or are you just killing me here? Anyway, my man Alex says, hey, Billy C, do you think that HBO and Showtime can work together ever again, like how they did with the Tyson and Lennox Lewis fight, or is there too much bad blood between them? Keep up the good work. You know, listen, that question is a good question, but here's my thinking. I don't think it's them as much as it is the people that are around them. Now, consider this. Kenny Hirschman was the guy that should get the pat on the back for putting Showtime in a position of where they are today. All right? He made Showtime, and we were talking about it. If you go back, I mean, my show, we're in our 12th year. If you go back and you look at and listen to some of our shows, you can catch the progression of Showtime and how it started to actually, in my opinion, it started to get better than HBO. Their fights were more competitive and everything else. Then some changes happened. Kenny Hirschman left Showtime and went to HBO. And the Espinoza, a new guy that is in charge of Showtime, who used to be involved with Golden Boy, he decided to have an alliance with Golden Boy, and which ultimately really ticked off HBO because they had all these fighters that were part of their group, and it started a feud that really kind of started. I blame Golden Boy, you know, and then you sprinkle in the feud between Golden Boy and Bob Arum and Top Rank, and sprinkle in Floyd Mayweather against Bob Arum and all of this. Next thing you know, we got this. We call it, the powers that be. It's a war. It's the Cold War, we like to refer to it as. And that's what we got. Do I ever think that they'll be able to work together? Yeah, I do. I do think they would be able to work together. Caesar saying Gino, come on, man. Listen, you can't even blame Sanchez for everything. They had no team, so Geno Smith is not a bad quarterback, but we'll have to wait and see how he does. But nonetheless, back to the HBO Showtime Cold War. I think eventually they'll work together. When Mayweather's out of the picture, when Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather fight, or if they never fight, as soon as Mayweather is out of the picture, when he's out of the sport will flourish, and we will do a lot better without a guy like him and his ways. And I don't mean just him; I mean his team. And we're starting to see the same stuff. We were talking about the signing yesterday with Adonis Stevenson. Signing with Al Heyman. All of a sudden, Adonis Stevenson, who has been one of the most exciting fighters in boxing, you watch. It's going to be a different approach. Now it's going to be safety and money. And who gets screwed by that? Us, the boxing fans. But hey, it's good for him. Thanks for the email. My man Jesse emails. He says, hey, Billy C., what's your thoughts on Jose Zapata? Is he a legitimate prospect? Well, the bottom line is he's 24 years old. He's already ranked number 19 by the computer at junior welterweight. He's a southpaw, which always helps. He's 17-0 with 15 knockouts, which is great. He's only had 47 rounds, but he's got an 88% knockout ratio. He's scheduled to fight. He's been a busy fighter. He's scheduled to fight next week on the undercard of Chavez and Vera against that badass TBA. I would never want to meet him in an alley. I look at it this way, Zapata has won his last 11 fights in a row, all by knockout, and his last 3 were against pretty good fighters, I would say above average. So to answer your question, yes, I think that Jose Zapata is definitely a legitimate prospect, and again, this is a fighter that, in my opinion, has been moved along exactly how I would like to move along a fighter. So I got a couple of more emails here. This one is from Carlo. Carlo says, I was listening to your show yesterday, and you mentioned an email that you read about one of Floyd's zombies. It said that Floyd will do this and do that to Manny, yada, yada, yada. You said that these fools believed that Floyd will really have an easy time with Pac-Man, and then so that they dismiss the fight. Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday. They've drank in the Kool-Aid. They've drunk the Kool-Aid, so that they don't want Floyd to fight him either. They're just as scared of him as Floyd is. So he says, I think the Floyd fans. Yeah, he just says, I think the Floyd fans are also scared of Floyd fighting Manny because of the chances that Manny has. I rarely hear Floyd Zombie say, come on, Floyd, fight Manny and prove to everyone you'll destroy him. It's always, oh, Manny doesn't deserve the fight, or they give some lame excuse just like him. He says, like always, I enjoy the show. TMT means the Manny team. Listen, Carlo, I agree with you. Obviously, we were on the same wavelength. I laughed at that comment because, if it's that easy, why not fight him? If it's such an easy fight, and don't tell me that it's because he wants to get back at Bob Arum. He doesn't want Bob Arum to make any money. So instead he walks away. It's like this. If you close a deal and you get what you want, and obviously he got what he wanted. He got a multi-$100 million deal with Showtime. He's making $40 million for a fight. And I mean, and the Pacquiao fight, damn well that he would make $100 million by himself. Just him would make $100 million easily. So don't tell me that the reason you're going to walk from $100 million because you don't want to get whatever Manny's cut goes to Bob Arum. And that was another excuse. Oh, no, I don't want Bob Arum to make money. If Manny was signed with me, Bob any money, Manny gets go. What Floyd care about that? About his own money. That's it. And if you're going to tell me, well, that's how stubborn he is. Well, so in other words, he is, even if you're the richest guy in the world, and he's not, but he's one of the richest athletes. $100 million. Does he have enough extra $100 million to stuff under his pill? Come on, it's Mike Tyson would say, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It really is. It's just terrible. I will talk about when Larry's done with his segment. I will be talking about it with Larry. Well, I heard up here, it is supposed to get to 40 tomorrow, and then over the weekend it's supposed to be in the high 30s. But we're down below 20 again on Monday and Tuesday. So if it does anything, it's going to snow here. But anyway. I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things. One is the official announcement today. We've actually been talking about it for a while now. We all knew it was going to happen, but it was announced actually late last night. Official Miguel Cotto against Sergio Martinez, June 7th at Madison Square Garden in New York. What's your thoughts on this fight? I mean, personally, I think it's going to be a competitive one. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a good fight. I think that's going to be a good fight, and I think Cotto has a good chance. It's a toss-up, but that's going to be a good fight, and a good fight for New York, for the Garden.
Oh, yeah. No, it's Cotto draws well there, and there's a lot of question marks with Sergio Martinez because, he's coming off his surgery, he's getting older, and his last couple of fights, he didn't look that good.
He didn't look that good, but, Cotto's getting up there, too, so I think they're both coming in with some minuses and some pluses too. So it's a pretty even. I think it's a toss-up going in. It looks pretty even, but I like Cotto. I always liked Cotto. Martinez, he's up there in the age, and he had that little streak there, but now I think he's on the downside now, and he just might be just right for Cotto to take him right now.
I agree, and the other thing is his style is so dependent on his athleticism, which is the first thing that starts to kind of fade as we get older.
That's the first thing to go. The timing gets off, the speed. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's just right for a guy like Cotto right now because Cotto's style. He likes to come forward. He gives you nice movement. And he's a tactician, and I'd have to put my bets on Cotto against Martinez.
My early feeling is Cotto will beat Martinez as well, but we'll have to wait and see come June. We got some good fights in the can, really. I mean, we got the Pacquiao Bradley rematch, which I think is going to be an exciting fight, no doubt. I mean, that's what I'm talking about now. You know, of course, we got the Floyd fans that, you know, it cracks me up. These guys, Larry, they actually mirror and repeat what Floyd says. I was reading an email the other day, and I actually got a response from another person on the email today, and the person that wrote it was saying what Floyd would do. Floyd would do this to Manny. He would do that. He'd do this and that. So why should he fight him? You know, well, wait a minute. You know, what do you mean he's going to do all of these things? And what, we're supposed to just dismiss it? You know, because they say he's going to do that. You know, it's kind of you know, it's comical. And I think, and the viewer that just sent me an email said, you know, he thinks that the fans, Floyd fans, are just as scared of Pacquiao as Floyd is. You know, and I thought that was kind of funny. But
well, I'm going to tell you something. You know. What Floyd has to worry about in fighting a guy like Manny Pacquiao, aside from the style that he brings, because, you know, he gives you all those angles, and he throws punches from all angles, and he's still got a reasonable amount of speed. But Pacquiao has had a greater level of competition, in my view. He's fought guys, better fighters, in my view, than Floyd has, you know, and certainly of late. Okay, and barring the knockout by Martinez, of course. Okay, but he's come back from that, and you know, I think Floyd has to worry about that because you can get real rusty, you know, fighting these pick'em guys
exactly
that you already know going in. You can get real rusty.
Exactly, and you know, what bothers me the most, and I'm not a huge Pacquiao fan. That's the funny thing. I like watching him because he's exciting, but what bothers me the most is how they refer to, well, he got knocked out. He's done. He's finished. You know, it's like, what are you talking about? You know, I mean, that is just the age and the ignorance factor, in my opinion, you know, because, you know, all the great fighters came back from losses and proved their greatness, and that's something that I think is part of this game.
Well, that's the mindset, that's the modern mindset with the modern fan who's really not a real fan. You know, they're very, in my view, there's not a whole lot of real boxing, diehard boxing fans around like there used to be, that we're used to. And television is the fault for a lot of this modern mindset. A loss is the end of a career. You know, a guy gets knocked out. Some of the greatest fighters in boxing history have been knocked out more than once. Not that I tell guys that you got to get knocked out to prove what you're worth, right. But I mean, it's just the type of fighters that they were, the type of fights that they were in. Some of the greatest fighters in boxing history suffered more than one knockout and still came back to prove their greatness. Matter of fact, many of them were knocked out early in their careers and went on to become Hall of Famers after that.
Well,
so you know, it's just that mindset that we have, that we've been conditioned. Many of the fans have been conditioned to this mindset of a loss is the end of a career, and many of these young up-and-coming fighters have bought into that also.
Exactly, and you know, like Henry Armstrong, I think lost his first 2 out of 3 or something like that. But I got an interesting thing for you, and it kind of fell into place here. We do a challenge every week. We call it the Billy C Challenge, and it started out as, you know, I was bragging about picking the fights, and you know, we started a challenge, and we have some of my viewers and listeners join in, and they challenge me, and I give out prizes for the monthly winners, and it's fun, right? And it's not really me anymore. It's them against each other. But I keep not only do I keep monthly and year-to-date stats because we give out a year-to-date prize, but I maintain lifetime statistics for all the people that have been involved, you know, for a long period of time. And there's like 20 guys that have been doing it for several years now. And check out this information. Now, what we do is we pick the fights that are available now. So let's just keep in mind the last couple of years, which boxing is in a resurgence, right? The lowest percentage out of the top 20 people that are on the challenge is 66% winning percentage. which, I do gamble a little bit, not so much with boxing because I don't like the money lines, but in football, if you were winning 66% of the time, you're making money. You're not, even when you're losing, you're paying the vig. 65% is breaking even, like with a football better. So 66% is just over breaking even, okay? The highest winning percentage is 85%, and then the average of all 20 of these guys is 77%. Now, this is my point. 77%, let's take that number. The winning percentage, which is the average winning percentage of the people that are involved with this challenge. What that tells me, Larry, is that the fights aren't that competitive. Let's be real. Yeah, my numbers are 85%. Lifetime, I have out of 500 or out of 610 plays or fights that I picked. My winning percentage is 85%. Now, does that mean I'm real good, or does that mean the fights are predictable? That's my point. I think that the fights are so effing predictable now that anybody can get a winning percentage that if you were betting real dollars, you'd be making some money.
Well, I would like to believe that people are just good boxing fans and good prognosticators. But what you're saying carries a lot of merit because you have a grasp somewhat of the matchmaking process and how fighters are cultivated. Therefore, you know who is on the way up, who's promoting who. See, all of these factors come into it because you know who's promoting who, who's on the way up, and you know how they cherry-pick opponents. So when you see a matchup, you look at that matchup and you say, well, this is a fighter that belongs to this stable or that stable. And you can tell just by the matchup almost who the winner should at least be, who the winner should be. And that's the way you're picking them. Now, someone who doesn't know that much really about fighters' backgrounds and how the matchmaking process is done, they would have a lower percentage of picking winners. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, well, the title bout championship computer game. It's a I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a statistic-based game. They started collecting statistics on fighters and fights and stuff in the early 70s, and they have this game. It's not like a game where it's all video oriented and stuff like that. It's just a statistic game. Like you could put you could put Marvin Hagler in with Harry Greb. You could, put them in both in top condition and let the computer, based on all of their strengths and weaknesses that are programmed in, who would win. And it's kind of fun. But when you look at their winning percentage, their lifetime winning percentage right now is 68%. And that is kind of like them taking all the scientific data based on experience, and they're not going to factor in a guy that, just like you said, a guy that is not with the right promoter, a guy that's not on the right network, something like that, who doesn't get the right scorecard either, and they're picking based on stats, and they have one of the lower percentages. So I think it's more about what you're saying, and it's like the fighter sees. I know some guys that say I pick everybody on the one side. I know the one side is the promoter's fighter, so I pick all the fighters on that side. And that's...
let me just interject something there, okay? You could sit at ringside, and let's not even talk about some of the major fights. Let's just talk about a so-so card, a Joe DeGuardia card or a main event or a main event fight, just anybody's card. And you could sit there at ringside, and if you know anything about the game, you could see which corner all of the winners are coming from.
Right.
And right away, that's the red corner. Okay, this is the next winner. Pretty much. And when the night is over, if there were 10 bouts, you would have 8 or 9 correct winners Okay, every now and then you get a ringer in there, and the guy loses. But if you'd have 8 out of the 10 fights, you'd have the winners. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
and it's just like what you're saying. You pick the corner. Okay, come on. Most of the people that are watching the show know that the promoter's corner is usually all the fighters in that same corner all night long.
That's right.
The judges know who's got which corner, and they also, I know this is, of all people, you're not going to want to hear this, but come on, they know who's handing them the check and everything else, but check this out. Back in the day when I was a kid, I remember, watching fights, my grandfather or something like that, and we'd be watching the fights, and we would pick the guys. Like if you're at a horse track, I'm going to go with this horse. You go, we don't know nothing about the horse. It's a club show. You don't know anything about the fighters too much. You're looking at what's on the bill, on the sheet, from the bout sheet. So, I'm going to pick this guy in the red trunks. I'm going to pick that guy. And sometimes it was 50-50 back then. It wasn't layups like they are now. Now, like you said, if you stick with one corner all night long, you got a better chance of winning.
That's right. That's right. Oh, everything's changed. Billy, it's all changed. The whole dynamics of the game has changed.
What scares me is that it's accepted. And I think that is what bothers me the most, Larry, because, me as a person involved in the sport and a fan, I get riled up when I see stuff that aggravates me, where it's not a legit fight and it's, we're hearing all the BS. It's almost like come on, nobody has been involved with more press conferences than Larry Hazard. I mean, come on. And I bet you that you could sit and close your eyes and they all seem like the same one because they all try to mimic Muhammad Ali. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Wait till I get you in the ring. I'm going to do this to you, and let's push. Let's push each other. Yeah. Let's hold each other back. Oh, let's make it like we really hate each other. And like, do the fans really believe that? I laugh. I don't even pay attention to that. To me,
and you got a whole corner full of Boudini Brown.
Yeah. Right.
We want. Right. That statement there really gets me.
I know.
The guys they're not throwing or catching not one punch, but they're yelling, screaming about who we want.
I know.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's we until the fighter loses. Then he didn't do what he was supposed to do.
He didn't do it. Yeah, and that corner empties out so quick, man. It's amazing.
I know. Hey, listen, Anthony Mundine, who all his anti-American things, I can't stand it, but he's fighting Joshua Clottey. And Clottey was a tough guy. He fought Manny Pacquiao and virtually didn't do anything, and his career just seemed to get put on hold. And he was a tough guy. He wasn't a flashy fighter or anything like that. But I always thought that he was a lot more talented than people thought. Again, not because he has great hand speed or he's a flashy fighter or anything like that, but just like you and I talk about that bring your lunch pail to work kind of a fighter, and to me that's Joshua Clottey. Do you think he's ready to get back into the mix, or do you think this is just a money fight for him?
Yeah, it's just money because I think Clottey's done.
Really, you think the Manny Pacquiao fight just ended his career, or what?
Didn't he? Didn't he fight Manny in Texas?
I can't.
Was he the one that fought Manny in Texas? Who was that?
Manny fought several fighters in Texas. I don't remember at the Dallas Stadium, the big fight.
At the new stadium, I was in Texas in one of those fights with Manny Pacquiao. I don't know if it was Clottey, but I'm very familiar with Clottey. Clottey. I don't think that Clottey has anything left, Billy.
Yeah, well,
Billy, he's over the hill. This is just something. I guess he's gonna make a few dollars and then he'll be out of there.
Yeah, they're telling us
you gotta be careful with guys like him too.
Yeah, no, I know, but the only beat me, and my man Coach is in the chat room. He says, yeah, that was Clottey Pacquiao in Texas.
Yeah, I was there. I was there at the new stadium. Yeah, he didn't do anything.
Right. Everybody
he didn't
was
even fight at all.
Everyone was saying they thought it was fixed and this and that because he didn't fight. But he wasn't a guy that I just didn't think he had he didn't have any answers for the speed. Man, that was Manny at his peak too, though.
Yeah, but he didn't even. All he did was retreat. He stayed on the ropes, had his earmuffs on, and he hardly threw any punches. That's what was so, disappointing about that fight. Because at the time when he fought Manny, that's when he was relatively, a decent fighter, supposedly a hot commodity, and Manny just walked right through him, So I don't really think that he's going to show you that much. He may even get knocked out against this Mundine kid.
Every time I think of Texas, I wonder how they get away with it. They got. Would you hit the redial button?
Oh, that's not me. I don't know whose phone that is. It's okay now.
They got Texas makes me wonder a lot of times because you got the commissioner is the father of the guy who gets all of the main events and stuff. And oh, by the way, a lot of people don't realize this, but they're the ones that provide all the insurance for the fights too. So did you ever notice how Lawrence Cole always stops the fights? If they think that something's going to bleed or if there's a little bit of blood, stop that fight. You don't want to have to send him to the hospital. Give him a butterfly stitch. How do they let them do that?
Well, I have no idea, but let me tell you, I was in Texas once, and there was an issue. See, at the time I was with the IBF. And there was an issue in a championship fight, and one of the managers, I don't recall what fight it was, but I'm going to show you just how arrogant they are about the situation. Dickie Coles, of course, is the commissioner, and we were at the rules meeting, and one of the cornermen, the manager, representative of one of the fighters, was vehemently objective to Lawrence Coles being the referee. And he threatened to pull the fighter out of the fight. And I mean, he was yelling and screaming and cursing and everything. He was adamant. And I'm telling you that Dickie Coles did not budge. Okay? And when that fight took place, Lawrence Cole was right in there as a referee.
Of course.
So how they get away with it, I have no idea. But, what's good for some, unfortunately, is not good for others. Because I'm sure that I could have never gotten away with that with my son. Listen. So it just depends on where you are. That's the way it is.
Listen.
But he gets away with it, and he's not considered what you would call a top-tier referee.
No, but
he's better in my view now than he was.
It's funny. His last fight, I thought he did the best job I've ever seen him do. I can't even recall which fight it was, but it was a major fight, and he did a good job. Usually,
he's been learning on the job.
Yeah. I just think it's funny, and I know that like you just said yourself, there's no way that you could get away with that in New Jersey or New York or California or Nevada. I mean, they just wouldn't let it happen. It's a conflict of interest.
They wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a conflict of interest. This week we got some fights I want to get your thoughts on. First of all, what's your thought on the tournament, the Boxino tournament that ESPN is doing? They're doing the first one is the lightweights this week, and next week I'll be in Chicago with the which incidentally you're going to have next Thursday off. We'll be doing this other show from there. But the next week is the middleweights. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. I think we kind of had a brief discussion on that. So, see, those are the types of things that I think help the sport of boxing. Network tournaments. And remember, I even said, they need to have more like state championships and things of that nature. It's a flavor of the old days. Remember, they used to have the old USA boxing when the network. They had tournaments. And then, they had the big money grab tournaments. You remember Cedric Kushner, where he had like $500,000 tournament?
That was that was a heavyweight tournament.
And heavyweight tournament. Those are the things that garner the interest in the sport of boxing. And when you put good fighters in these tournaments, and they can't, you can't cherry pick because it's like an elimination. So you gotta fight. And these are the things. I think it's a great thing that that ESPN is doing.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I like that prize fighter tournament too. I like that. That's even tougher. It's the same night, but we're almost out of time. Let me get your thoughts on a couple of the bigger fights this weekend. Who do you think's going to win tomorrow on Showtime? Don King is actually doing it. His guy Angelo Santana is taking on Hammer and Hank Lundy. Hank Lundy's a tough guy when he wants to fight. How do you see this one going?
Well, I like Hank Lundy. He's a good, tough Philadelphia kid. You know what I mean? I don't know where he's been. He was on a roll there for a while, but he's been kind of out of the circuit for a minute there. Okay, but I like Lundy. I like Lundy in this fight. He's an up-and-coming kid, tough Philadelphia fighter, and I think that he'll come through in that one.
We have a couple other fights, but Glenn Johnson is making his return. He's going to be fighting in Rhode Island. What's your thoughts of him continuing his career? He's actually in a very winnable fight against Jamie Velasquez.
Well, Billy, it's like this. As long as the caliber of fighters, see, that says a lot about the game today, too. Because you know as well as I know, Glenn Johnson could not be around in the 70s or 80s when guys like Marvin Hagler and some of those guys were still fighting. So that tells you the caliber. When a guy like Glenn Johnson, guys like Antonio Tarver, and guys like even Roy Jones, these guys are still fighting into their 40s, and probably some of them will try to even go into their 50s. These guys wouldn't be allowed to be around. The competition wouldn't have allowed them to hang around this long 10, 15 years ago. So that right there is a measurement, somewhat of a measurement of where the fight game is today. Glenn Johnson, as long as he can be competitive, why not? Let him fight. And this is a very winnable fight for him. So, it's a toss-up. But very winnable for Glenn. Yeah. So I have to give him his props.
The thing about it is he wins that fight, and then next thing you know, you're going to see that he's going to get an opportunity for a big dollar fight. Yeah. And the result and the reason why that happens is that's the blueprint. And that's what bothers me the most. This kid, I know I got to take a break here, but Chris Algieri fought last Friday night on Friday Night Fights. And, you mentioned about Star Boxing, and I agree with the matchmaking and stuff, but he was in his first real fight against Emmanuel Taylor. I was wrong. I thought Taylor would beat him. I thought Taylor was the better fighter, and Chris Algieri looked fantastic. Somebody asked me what I thought he should do. I figured 3 fights. I figured progressively, increase his level of opposition, and after 3 fights, move him in a position for a world title fight. So his 4th fight would be a title fight. I figured if that was my kid and I saw potential with him, that's what I would want to do. Make sure that he has a chance to win the title when he fights. It was announced the next day that they're trying to get him a fight for the title against Ruslan Prodagnikov on HBO. And I said to myself, "What? This kid is going to get killed." I mean, he fought one real fighter in his whole career, and they're immediately moving him to feed him to. And DeGuardia, Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing saying, this is the kind of fight that he wants. Yeah, but what do you think about that, man?
You see. This is the type of fight that he wants, but that's why we're the gatekeepers. We have to protect these guys from themselves sometimes. And what kind of, why would you throw him in? You have to tell him, no, this is what you want, but this is not what you should get.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's your fighter. You got to protect him. Why would you try to throw him in? You just can't throw him in because he's going to get ruined, if not killed.
They want to cash out. It's called a cash out fight. And then every fight after that is a profit. That's the blueprint. And Starr isn't the only one. Goose and Tudor. Andre Ward, his worst decision he ever made was signing with a promoter like he's with, because they do the same thing. It's the same thing. How did that guy Manuel Quesada. How did he ever get a shot at a title with the level of opposition he was fighting?
Yeah. Well, that says a lot about the sanctioning organizations too.
Yeah.
And how the whole system works.
Well, how do you rank? How do you move a guy up to a number one position when he fights guys that are just, not even near it? But hey, listen, Larry, I'm over my time, but great stuff as usual. And like I said, we won't be doing a live show here. We'll be doing it from Chicago next week. So I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, Billy. Take care, buddy.
That's my man, Larry Hazard, giving us his thoughts. And like I said, we're going to be doing that live weigh-in broadcast next week. But, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. I'll be back in 2.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. And I just want to address something. Given quality, I didn't see his question. He wanted me to ask Larry about Vasily Lomachenko getting a world title shot. And then now he wants my thought. Listen, I've said this before. Lomachenko is the exception to the rule. He's not the norm. He's the exception. A guy with 500, 400 amateur fights, whatever. If they're ready, and why should they take the chance of fighting, the slugs that Demetrius Andrade fought and everything else? What does he need? He's already fought and beaten them. He wants to get up. He's 30 years old, 29 years old. So he's a little older. And he wants to do it. The same thing happened with Rigondeaux, and same thing happened with my man Gamboa and all of those guys. They got fast tracks because of their lengthy amateur careers. But anyway, joining us right now is my man Dax Khan. What's up, brother?
What's going on? Enjoying the warm weather for a change.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to get warm. Hey, are you sure that you didn't make a mistake with the Clotty? Wasn't it the other guy? I keep forgetting his name. I was trying to remember, but he was a champion at one time. He kept coming back, and he has like 152 kids. Wasn't he the guy in the bathtub? I remember you and I laughing about it.
You know, there's been a lot of guys in this sport where I've had some funny moments with, like, for example, and I said something to Virgil Hill at the Hall of Fame. You know, me and him, we had an interview, went all the way across Europe. At one point in time, you know, we're talking. He drops the phone into the toilet, and Joshua Clottey. One time, I'm sitting there doing an interview with him. He had canceled a couple times and had me call him back that night. And then he's singing in the background. I'm like, "Is something wrong?" And I hear this water. He goes, "Oh, I'm taking a bath." And you just see he starts singing like, you know, he was alone. And then so I'm sitting there talking. Next thing you know, I hear water. You know, he's peeing in the toilet, and I'm just shaking my head. And to be honest, I was a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, well,
I'm waiting for him to tell me I owe him $4.99 a minute.
Yeah. Give us your boxing schedule roundup so I can ask you some other stuff.
All right. Tonight on Panama TV, Max Channel 9, Delistimo Promotions has Luis Concepcion taking on Carlos Fontes with Luis's WBC silver flyweight title on the line. Alberto Mosquera will face Fidel Monterosa Munoz in the welterweight co-feature. Friday, Buenos Aires, Argentina, OR Promotions in Argentina, TYC Sports has a main event. Fernanda Soledad Algeri defending her WBO female light welterweight title against Marisol Reyes at the Edgewater Hotel Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. ESPN Friday Night Fights, along with Banner Promotions, is going to have an installment of their Boxino tournament. This week it's going to be the lightweights. In their quarterfinals, all bouts are 6 rounds. 17-0 light heavyweight Michael Seals is also going to be in action. At the Twin River Event Center in Lincoln, Rhode Island, Jimmy Burke's trio of CES Boxing has former world champion Glenn Johnson in the main event traction against Jamie Velasquez. Saturday, Macau, China, and HBO 2, Top Rank will host Miguel Vasquez and undefeated Denis Shafikov in the main event for Miguel's IBF lightweight title. Akifumi Shimoda will face Marvin Sonosa when it gets the vacant WBO International Featherweight title, and Olympian Zhu Shimin goes for win number 4 in the flyweight division. Back in Mexico, Del Pueblo Promotions has a female headliner when Marina Juarez defends her WBC International Female Super Flyweight title against Melissa McMarrow. At the Ice Arena in Hull, Yorkshire, United Kingdom, Metro Boxing will air on United Kingdom Sky TV. The main event there is going to be Tommy Coyle and Daniel Eduardo Brazulia for Coyle's IBF International Lightweight title. Darren Hamilton defends his BBBFC British Light Welterweight title against Curtis Woodhouse in the co-feature. In Bethel Green, London, Queensberry Promotions and Hungary Sport 2 TV feature Tony Conquest and Daniel Aman for the vacant Commonwealth British Empire Cruiserweight title. Undefeated middleweight Chris Eubank Jr. is also going to be on the card. At the Sands Casino Resort in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Iron Mike Promotions has light heavyweight Humberto Savien taking on Maxwell Taylor in the night's feature bout. Undefeated bantamweight Juan Carlos Piano and super featherweight Alexi Collado and welterweight Samuel Vasquez also set to be in action. That's the card. I just got to say, I'm a little bit disappointed in the matchmaking that's going on in that company, Bill. You know, Piano's going against a guy that's 46-29-6. Collado's going against a guy that's 36-16-2. You know, and these guys are, you know, just upstarts, so I'm not really sure, you know, who's making the matches there, but if they keep going on like that, I don't see that company lasting too long. At the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona, Iron Boy Promotions, not to be confused with Iron Mike Promotions, Alexis Santiago is taking on Hanzil Martinez for the vacant WBC United States US NBC Bantamweight title, and on the undercard, some names from the hat. Former world champions Joaquim Alcine will be in the middleweight contest, as will former WBO heavyweight title holder Sergey Leifovich. So, you know, I don't know where these guys this weekend, you know, this must be the oldies weekend. You know, we got Glenn Johnson, we got Leifovich, we got Alcine. You know, so I don't know if it's a slow week or, you know, it's a retro week for boxing. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you about Tyson Promotions, and it really irks me. What makes it even worse is the fact that they're charging for that it's a webcast, and they're charging for it. It just set me off yesterday, big time.
And webcasts always set you off.
Well, I mean, listen, you know, what I think would be a viable webcast, let's say the Manny Pacquiao Bradley fight, or the Cotto Martinez fight, or even Saul Alvarez and Angulo fight. You know, they're pay-per-view fights. If there was an option where you could get a web version of it for a couple of bucks cheap or something, that's a different story. But you just were criticizing the matchmaking because they're so one-sided, those matches. And then, oh, by the way, let's make it a pay-per-view because everybody's going to want to watch this. You know, come on, man. Who's going to buy that unless they're related to the fighters?
No, nobody. You're absolutely right. And again, it's just some bad matchmaking, and Mike's not calling the shots. It's the people around him, and you can already see that it's kind of a greed factor. In my opinion, it's like they're trying. It's almost as if they're setting themselves up for failure. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean? Common sense is going to say, listen, this is not going to be a big seller. Why are they going to sit there and try to get even $4.99 or $5.99 out of it when with such a young company, you would think the thing would, the more intelligent thing to do would get involved or jump in bed with, one of these smaller TV networks. There's so many different sports channels out there now. Jump in bed with one of them and do something like Golden Boy's doing and, create yourself a regular series, build up a fan following, and then get your fighters' names, and then after that, then you can go and start doing your pay-per-views. But, I'm not the promoter. I just, say who the fights are. You know what I mean? In a few years, everybody's going to go, what happened?
It's called greed. They figure that, hey, you know what? Even if we make $100, it's $100 we got that we didn't make before. But what they're really losing though, Dax, is they're losing the fact that if they put that same webcast for free, it's exposure for their young fighters. I mean, the whole trick of creating value in a fighter is to get people to know who they are. And if you got to pay for it, nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, for example, the matchmaking so bad. For example, take Juan Carlos Tejano. He's going up against a guy that's 46-29-1. The guy he's only been knocked out a handful of times. That's a lot of experience, even though he's a professional opponent, but we've seen what professional opponents do to a lot of upcoming guys in the past. You're going up against a guy that's 14-0. It's like you're setting your guy for failure. Marrero, he's 14-1. He's going up against a guy that's 36-28. What's going through the heads, the minds of these guys? I have no idea. Like I said, it's a recipe for disaster. That's my opinion.
Seems it. We've been talking about this fight for a while, Dax, but it's finally officially official. Miguel Cotto against Sergio Martinez, June 7th at Madison Square Garden. What's your thoughts, man?
I'm up against the fence on it. Is Miguel Cotto pushing it too far? Like we were talking in the chat room before, I think this is his swan song. It's his last hurrah. Then again, on the other hand, Sergio Martinez hasn't looked all that great lately, but Sergio does possess that one-punch power where he's knocked out guys, with very solid chins. And, Miguel Cotto, this is going to be, the highest of his career. Another factor that was being talked about, lately over the last few years, in between fights, he's been known to drink a lot. He's smoking them cigars. So it's not really, I think it's going to be one of these guys is on their way out, and this fight is going to tell us who was gone. Well, it all depends, but I really do think that it's a bad decision for Miguel Cotto, but, it's swan song.
I think, I mean, we got a long way to go, and this isn't an official prediction or anything like that, but I think that people should be looking more in the favor of Cotto because he's kind of in a rejuvenated state, whereas Sergio Martinez, he's coming off of a couple of poor performances and then tack on some surgery, and, oh, by the way, he's 40 years old. And his style, if he was a type of fighter, Dax, that used his feet and had a nice jab and had a good, strong defense and outboxed his opponents and set his power shots up, I would say, you know what, he can control the action in this fight, and he's going to have Cotto chasing him all around the ring all night. But he's not really that kind of fighter, Yeah, he kind of moves around, he's awkward and stuff, but his hands are down. I see Cotto coming at him and having him on his back foot, retreating a lot during the night. And I think that kind of a fight is kind of in the favor of Cotto.
Sergio can fight, and Sergio will fight. If you look back on his fights, when the time comes and he feels the need to be, he will put his hands up. But he's like I said, he's very awkward. Miguel Cotto, the rejuvenation, what are we basing that off of? The wins over Margarito and Delvin Rodriguez, I wouldn't really call that a rejuvenation. But, as for, Miguel Cotto, unlike Sergio Martinez, has taken some brutal beatings in the past. Again, and Sergio Martinez is always in shape, cardio-wise. Miguel Cotto isn't. Miguel Cotto is not the power puncher, even at 154 that he was at 147, certainly not at 140. Sergio's knocked out bigger guys, stronger guys, and, even when he gets down, he always seems to get back up. Look at, I know, it was a few fights ago, but when he fought Junior, Junior came in basically as a cruiserweight, and, he just kept coming forward all night, and Sergio had the fight on the back foot all night, because Chavez Jr. was so big, he wasn't able to get the knockout, but even in the 12th round, when he was able to knock Martinez down, Sergio got up and finished the fight. I just don't think Miguel Cotto has that much left in his gas tank. And I'm a big fan of Miguel, but I just don't think it's a good idea. And if he does win against him, what's he going to be? One of those guys that pushes his luck too far? What's he going to do next? Go after Peter Quillen, or is he going to go after Triple G?
No, you make some great points. And that fight, the Junior fight, Chavez Jr., the only reason Chavez didn't knock him out, because the truth of the matter is he's lucky he survived that 12th round. But the reason, if you rewatch that, was Chavez pushed him. You remember he had him down, he had him back up, he got up and he was hitting him and he was trying to land a punch, and Sergio was kind of holding on, and Chavez pushed him. And he went down, and the referee ruled it a slip, and then that extra 10, 12 seconds that ticked away cost Chavez Jr. the knockout. But that's in my opinion. We talked briefly about the Joshua Clottey fight with Larry Hazard. He felt that Clottey's done. What's your thoughts on it for April 2nd?
I think he's done as well. I don't know what he's been doing the last couple of years, but last year when he came back against that guy who had a real poor record, the guy was, a C-level fighter at best, and Clottey didn't even look all that good there. So, I don't know. You have to sometimes, when guys take a little bit of time off, it rejuvenates them. They come back better than ever. Sometimes guys, things in the sport don't go their way. They have to take some time off, get their head together, and focus again and come back. I think maybe if Joshua Clottey, took care of himself during his time off and stuff, his last fight, he called it tune-up, a rush shaker, and he might make some noise. But I think, earlier when you were talking to Larry, you hit it on the head best. There was nothing outstanding about Joshua Clottey ever, but, he's solid all around. He doesn't do anything great, but he does everything well. And, and he always comes to fight, and he has a great chin.
Yeah, no, Larry saw him ringside with the Pacquiao fight, and a lot of people thought that fight was fixed. It wasn't the same Joshua Clottey that I had seen, and I've never seen him again, so maybe he is spent.
He said himself afterwards, he said himself, the speed was too much for me. He admitted that, he couldn't get any, more honest, and there's not a lot of guys out there that are so honest, with a loss. I think he said that was the first fight that I ever felt I can truly say to myself, I lost. And it was.
Remember, he was.
I'm saying, he said to himself, out loud. He said, I knew myself. I lost that fight. There was nothing I could say that would justify my performance. And he said the speed of Manny was just too fast. Anytime I opened up, he was letting go. There was nothing I can do.
Yeah, well, a lot of fighters that have faced Pacquiao say the same thing. They say it's deceiving.
Hey, what's the old adage? Speed kills.
Yeah. I got one more thing I want to ask you real quick. A comment. I actually should have asked you a minute ago when we were talking about the Cotto Martinez fight. But Samson Lukowicz, who's the manager of Sergio Martinez, he made a statement, and he said this fight is going to serve as an example of goodwill in bringing the fans what they really want, instead of fights that could have happened. Now, obviously, we know what the undertone and subliminal message is here, but I agree with that statement. I mean, unfortunately, the majority of the fans today, at least the casual fans, they like one of two fighters, and we all know which two they are. And there's so many other good fighters out there that aren't getting the press that they deserve because of two guys. And I think that what Samson says here is 100% true. What's your thoughts?
I believe so. Let's be honest. There was a lot of problems making this fight because of ego. There's no way, no ifs, ands, or buts around that. But, a lot of guys, once they get to that level, especially guys at the tail end of their career who have accomplished everything that Martinez and Cotto have, they have a little bit of a right for an ego. But you know what? They overcame it. They put it aside to make the fight. So, hey, they had their little delay and stuff like that. Each of them, wanted to get the upper hand, so to speak, whether or not it was, to enter first, enter last, glove size, ring size, et cetera, et cetera. But, the fight was made, and that's the important thing, is to get the fight made, give the fans what they want, and not only that, but this, going out, either one of them retired or they both retired after this, it's a great way to go out on, a guy like Miguel Cotto, let's say, champion at 140, 147, 154, not so bad to go out, if you lose to the lineal middleweight champion of the world. Same thing for Martinez. You're a guy, 38 years old, you're a two-division world champion, you're the lineal champion, now you're losing against a guy who's younger than you, who was a former champion in 3 divisions, and everybody knows you've come back off of some injuries and stuff like that. So it's a win-win for everybody, the fighters and the fans. Yeah, no, great point. Dax, great job as usual. I appreciate your insight and all that stuff. And we'll hopefully you'll get your, we don't have to mention, but hopefully you get that paperwork for next week, huh? You're relying on some reputable foes, huh? To be honest with you, I'm not really that worried about it, but you know what I mean? But that card is one of those not worth the $4.99, but you know what I mean? It's my job. Yeah, well, I mean, you got other stuff on that one. But anyway, I'll talk to you tomorrow, all right, my man? All right, I'll talk to you later. Have a good weekend. All right, take care. That's my man, Dax Khan, giving you his boxing schedule roundup and also giving you some thoughts, made some great points on Joshua Clottey and, of course, Miguel Cotto and Sergio Martinez. Hey, listen, I got that other email I want to read, but before I read that, Francois Botha is heading back into the ring. Yeah, I thought he was like 72, but he's only 45. He's still way younger than me. 48 wins, 10 losses, and 3 draws. He is going to be taking on Andrzej Warzek, who's 28-1, the Polish heavyweight. So that's taking place March 15th. So I'm sure everybody will be on pins and needles for that one. All right, my last email that I wanted to read is from Destro. Excuse me, and he says, "Hey Billy C, I almost threw up in my mouth." I know that sounds like I'm laughing, like I'm in 3rd grade, but that is still funny. It's like, whatever. But he says, I almost threw up in my mouth when you read an email comparing Hopkins to Floyd. Hopkins has many great historic accomplishments inside the ring. Actually, I have no idea how the Boxing Hall of Fame will fit all of his accomplishments on one plaque. Come on, man. Aren't you overdoing it just a little bit, Destro? Come on. Anyway. He says, Hopkins, in other words, has done many great things in the ring. Hopkins has done one job right now, and that job is never to test positive for PEDs. Floyd, on the other hand, has not done anything great in the ring. Floyd has no extraordinary ring accomplishments. He calls himself the greatest, but tell me one thing he's done that he can be considered great. I can't. I agree with you. He says, also, why do people say Floyd is a great businessman? Al Heyman is the Wizard of Oz. Heyman is the guy behind the curtain. Heyman is the Kaiser Soze who nobody ever sees. Remember the Pinky and the Brain cartoon? Well, Heyman is the brain and Floyd is just Pinky. Speaking of Al Heyman, we could probably kiss Adonis versus Kovalev goodbye because Adonis may be going over to Showtime, which for all intents and purposes is owned by Al Heyman. Steven Espinoza is not running Showtime. Al Heyman is running Showtime. Al Heyman is the Pied Piper who can just blow his pipe and all of his children will follow him. So Steven Espinoza and Golden Boy will have to remember that. You're right. And you're also right about the Kovalev fight because Al Heyman's model is to make the fighters money. And the fighters want to make the more money, so that's why he has such a big pool of fighters to choose from. It's great for the fighter when you put your business hat on and you're trying to make decisions as a fighter, Adonis Stevenson trying to make decisions for himself and his future and his family. To sign with Al Heyman is a smart business move. But I look at it as from a boxing perspective. And by signing with Al Heyman,
guys like Al Heyman, they may be good to protect that fighter, but they're not good to protect the sport, because what they're doing is they're selling basically thorn bushes, and they're telling people it's roses. And what I mean by that is the fact that you got a whole slew of fans that accept the fact that Al Heyman fighters are never challenging themselves, that they don't fight each other, they don't fight tough fights, they fight fights to preserve their O's, and this is what we're left with. And it's really in our hands, the boxing fan. The only way to control an Al Heyman is to not buy the pay-per-views. Don't turn on the TV. Don't do it. I'm telling you right now, it's your only way to save yourself if you're concerned. If you like those kind of fights, if you like being able to be 80% right all the time because, nobody loses because they're never challenged, then keep paying the money. Anyway, he says, remember when we had undisputed champions? Yeah, I do. He says, excluding the Klitschko's, when and who was the last undisputed champion? I'm defining undisputed as 3 or 4 major belts. Was it Jermaine Taylor? Was Taylor the last undisputed champ? I'm sick of guys fighting the weakest belt holder just to say they won a belt in the weight class. Whatever happened to undisputed champs? Who was the last undisputed champ? The problem with undisputed championships now is the fact that the sanctioning bodies won't let them fight. So if a fighter wants to unify the belts, they'll say, well, you can't fight that fighter who's got the other belt. Your mandatory is this fighter who's our number one guy. And if he doesn't fight that guy, he gets stripped, or they elevate him, so supposedly, to super champion. So that's what's happened to the undisputed champs. He says, Al Heyman is why there are no more undisputed champions, because his guys seldom take risks, and Al also is at the root of the HBO Showtime beef by taking his guys over to Showtime. Probably 1 or 2 of his guys still on HBO, but I'm not sure about that and if it will change soon. Al Heyman is turning boxing into the WWE. Al Heyman is to boxing what Vince McMahon is to WWE. There was a time when most championship fights were 60-40 or 50-50 fights, but today a lot of championship fights are 70-30. What I mean is Al Heyman is the guy who's supposed to win, always does win, and we know who will win by who is their manager. Ask any 9-year-old WWE fan, and the 9-year-old will tell you who will win the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, etc. Al Heyman is making boxing that way because we have these dumb 70-30 Floyd versus Guerrero, Floyd versus Khan, Floyd versus Maidana, Floyd versus Canelo fights, whereby we already know who will win. It's the 70-30 odds. That's not boxing. That's showcasing. And you know something? The way that Destro just put that is 100% correct. And when you look at Floyd Mayweather and you look at his projected fights from now until the end of his career, and if you even go back and look at his fights from the last decade, you're right. Destro's 100% right. They're not fights. They're showcases. They're showcasing him. They're showcasing him and his abilities against the lesser opposition. That's been my question all along. How would he do against the upper echelon of competition? Now you could say, oh, well, Saul Alvarez was big, he was young, he was strong. Yeah, well, he wasn't experienced, and listen, the bottom line is Floyd is so great, and he needs to do great things. Great things is to start, making some, crazy challenges and winning. Again, I'll say it. If he challenged a guy like Triple G and beat him, Floyd Mayweather would not have to do another thing. He would be on a pedestal and regarded as the best because he did that one thing. And I wouldn't think he's the best. I'll put him up there. I'll respect him. But I wouldn't think he's the best. But today's generation would have to think he's the best. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some more news. Tell you what the lineup for the Billy C Challenge is. All of that in about 2.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Baby Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or He might have diarrhea. He might have the flu. He might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. If you want your voice heard on Talking Boxing with Billy C, then call our hotline at 845-228-8710. Leave a voicemail, or you could just tell Billy C that you like his mustache.
Can I ask you your opinion about this idea?
I'm just trying to give you the encouragement.
Listen, all I need from you is to make sure you don't hang up on people.
And if we like your call, we'll play it back on the
Billy,
air.
you have the knowledge and wisdom of boxing because of what you do and how well
Leave
you
your
do
name,
it.
hometown, and what you think of the show. 845-228-8710. We want to hear you.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
Got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. And speaking of the Fight Now channel, if you don't have it, you're missing out. Call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. Only information about the channel, how to get it, where it's available, on their website, www.fightnow.com. And if your TV provider does not have it available, you need to formally request that they add the channel. That's all you got to do. Got some news to talk about. Bob Arum was in the news earlier today when he was telling Floyd Mayweather he should be ashamed of himself for dragging Amir Khan through the mire and everything else. I think that they need to stop interviewing Bob Arum because Bob Arum is saying some crazy stuff. He said it's disgraceful and blah, 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 blah. And I will say this, I told you guys how contracts work. Amir Khan, just because he signed his paper doesn't mean he's got a contract. And even if, one other fighter signed the paper, that doesn't mean you got a contract. You got to have all the signatures on the paper. Then you got a contract. And even that's not guaranteed. So, anyway, Bob Arum, he feels Mayweather should be ashamed of himself. I'm sure that Floyd Mayweather is not ashamed of himself. Now, an update on Mayweather. Apparently, this is the first time that we have officially heard that teammate Dana has indeed admitted that there are negotiations taking place between Mayweather and teammate Dana. We don't know which is which. Personally, I don't care because either one of those two fighters is certainly not going to be much of a challenge for Floyd Mayweather. So we have these other great fights to look forward to, specifically Manny Pacquiao against Timothy Bradley, the second fight. We all know that's going to be an exciting fight. We all know that Cotto, Sergio Martinez is going to be exciting. And I have a feeling that this fight, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and Brian Vera, who's coming up next weekend, I have a feeling that that's going to be a really good fight. It's going to be an exciting fight. And we got some comments from Julio Cesar Chavez. He says he's in great shape. His quotes are as follows. He said, I've been training for 4 months for this fight because I need to be at my best to win it. And I want to win it in an impressive fashion. He says, I must eliminate all the doubts about the outcome. I know that I will be much better than the first fight. I believe Brian Vera will come in very confident after what happened in our first fight, and this is going to make this fight much better than the first one, and the fans will remember that for a long time. That wording that he says right there in that quote, if you've ever heard the stuff that came out of his dad's mouth, that's almost like that's from Chavez Sr. So maybe Papa Chavez, in between guzzling the booze and stuff, is actually making an impact on Julio Jr. But then again, maybe Papa Chavez, he's popping the beers and Junior's smoking the joints, and it's a party at that training camp. But anyway, Chavez also says, I owe the fans a great performance, and that's what they'll get on March 1st on HBO. I've had a lot of success in San Antonio, and I look forward to going there and putting on a good show. He says, I will definitely make the 168-pound limit with no problem, and I'll be able to do the things I could not do in the first fight. I'll have better movement, I'll be more consistent, and I will have 12 hard rounds if that's what it takes to secure this fight. Vera's a tough guy with a good chin, but I'll do my best to send him home early. I know we're fighting in his home state, but inside the ring, it's just the two of us, and the fans stay in the stands and enjoy a great battle between two guys that won't give an inch in the ring. I'm looking forward to a great night of boxing and getting back on the road for another championship run. Could it be that Junior has become a little more mature? It seems like he's saying all the right things. I guess we won't know until next week. But, the big knock on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was that he was immature. He wasn't, doing this, doing that, doing the other thing, all these crazy things. And, he acted like a spoiled rich kid is what he did. There's no question about that. He acted like a spoiled brat, to tell you the truth. But give a shout out to my man Keith Tessera. He's in the chat room. Haven't talked to you in a while, my man. Give me a call sometime. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and he's in the chat room right now. So another fight was announced, which I don't know what to think of this fight. Amir Mansour. I'm not impressed with him. Here's the thing. He's a good fighter, and, if we didn't have Vladimir Klitschko as a heavyweight champion, and we had normal heavyweights, Mansour would be a guy that would be in the discussion, right? But, his size is a little, limiting. But he's stepping in to fight Steve USS Cunningham, who is a small guy. He's really a cruiserweight trying to become a heavyweight. The fight was signed, sealed, and delivered. It's taking place April 4th. Main Events will be promoting it, and we'll get to see it on NBC Sports, which will be another one of those cards. Actually, my man Larry Hazard, who was just on the show here, he'll be the unofficial ringside scorer. In case you forgot, Amir Mansour is 20-0 with 15 knockouts, and he's putting his undefeated record on the line against Cunningham, who's 26-6. Mansour is 41 years old. He fought 4 times in 2013 against not so great opposition, and he's only 6'1", but he did leave the game for a little bit. He had turned pro in 2000, I think, or 1999, and then for 9 years he took a hiatus from the boxing game. My friends would say that he went off to college, but the truth of the matter is he went to the Slammer. He was convicted for some kind of drug charge, and he did 9 years. Actually, I think he did 8 years, and then he resumed his career, and he came back in 2010. But he has been doing well against questionable opposition. My hang-up is this. Let's assume he gets by Cunningham. And Cunningham, Cunningham's got a lot on the line too, because if Cunningham beats Mansour in this fight, then he's the guy that will get a shot. But let's assume that Amir gets by Steve U.S.'s Cunningham. Does that catapult him into a world title shot just because he beat one legitimate guy? I mean, they're bragging about his win over Kelvin Price. Now, if you recall, Kelvin Price was a basketball player who really doesn't even know how to fight, and so does a win over him and a win over Cunningham make Amir Mansour like a legitimate contender? We were talking about the old days, and the thing is that back in the day, what you used to do is you used to work your way up to contender. You were a prospect, you fought and fought and you fought and you fought, and all of a sudden, bam, you were number 10 contender. And then as you rose up in the contender ranks, when you became the number 1 contender, you got the shot at the world title. But along the way, you were fighting other ranked contenders, and you moved up in those rankings by beating the guy who beat the guy. You beat the guy at number 5, you're in number 5. You beat the guy in number 3, you're in number 3 now. And then you ultimately get your world title shot. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. Mansour gets to fight, hand-picked opponents. He gets to fight a guy like Cunningham, who's a former world champion, but in a lower weight class, who is really small and all this stuff. I mean, you beat him and you're immediately ready. It's almost like the Luis Collazo fight. Luis Collazo beats Victor Ortiz. Great fight for Luis Collazo. I was impressed. I picked Ortiz. But then all of a sudden everybody's saying, "Oh yeah, he's Floyd is next for him." What? What do you mean Floyd is next for him? He wins one fight against Victor Ortiz, who hadn't fought in a year and a half, and that catapults him into a fight with Floyd Mayweather. What about all these fighters? See, this is what bothers me about the sport. The fighters that don't have the Al Heyman, that doesn't have the promoter in their back pocket, but they're still better fighters. They're hardworking kids a lot of times. They're working a job. They dedicate themselves to training and getting in shape, and they work their ass off. They fight tough fights, and then they never get the opportunity. And these are the guys that are paying their dues, and you get a guy like, and I'm not picking on Amir Mansour, I'm just using him as an example because it's such a blueprint of what so many fighters do. You get Amir Mansour, he's with some people that are basically buying him the wins. They hand him these cupcake opponents, no disrespect to them, but he gets these wins, and all of a sudden he's a win against a guy that's a shell of himself away from a world title shot, never fighting and earning his shot among the contenders. And I'm not even talking about when there was only 10 contenders. I mean, let's stay in one sanctioning body and work your way up at least among those contenders. We don't even do that. Do you realize that back in the day there were 10 world-ranked contenders for 8 weight classes. So if you were a junior middleweight, you were competing in the middleweight class, right? So when you're number 10, you were a badass. You were the 10th best fighter in the world, and you worked your way up for a world title shot. Today, if you pick 5 or 6 of the top sanctioning bodies, each one has 10 ranked fighters in the same weight class. So if you pick 5 top sanctioning bodies, theoretically you could have 5 number 5 world rated middleweights, all claiming to be the 5th best in the world. Well, even with that diluted contender system that they have, they don't even move up among those. Mansour is fighting, and other fighters like him fight these guys that aren't even near a ranking, and they beat a couple of them. They get fed one name, and poof, they're an immediate mandatory for a world title shot. It's sad. It's sad. Junior featherweight Scott Quigg, who I like this kid. He's 27-0 with a couple of draws, 20 knockouts. He's out of England. I tell you guys all the time, I'm a huge fan of English boxing. Although I really messed up, I should actually talk to Dax before I pick all my picks. and find out, because there was he mentioned a couple of fights going on in England this weekend that should have been on our challenge, but we had so many fights, they slipped through the cracks. I effed up, all right. Anyway, Scott Quigg is taking on Neomar Semino on April 19th. Semino is 22-5 with a draw and 13 knockouts. He's 34 years old already, but nonetheless, I think it ought to be a interesting fight for Scott Quigg, who's just a young kid. He's only 25, so we'll keep you posted on that one. And Morales, not Eric Morales, but his younger brother, he's going to be fighting on the undercard of that's Roman Morales. He's fighting on the undercard of Rustam Nagaev against Marvin Quintero, which is taking place on March 7th. Well, the undercard now, the co-main event, is Roman Morales, who's 17-0 right now with 9 knockouts, and he's taking on Kabir Suleimanov, who's, man, did I hit that one on the head? Suleimanov, come on, man. Come on, man. Talk about pronunciation. But Suleimanov is 16 wins, 3 losses, and 6 of his W's coming by knockout. They also got some other young fighters on this card. And Mike Farragon, I want to mention, Mike Farragon was a guy that was fighting not so far from here, about an hour away, and was a big draw here in upstate New York. He's 19-0 with 9 knockouts. He signed with a promoter, basically dissed the guy who built up his record, and then I haven't seen or heard anything about Mike Farragon until just now. Mike Farragon is on that card as well. They are obviously protecting him because they don't even have an opponent for him, or a welterweight from Santa Barbara, Francisco Santana, who's 18-3. So Farragon is a lightweight, and he's still he's 19-0, and they still got him in 6-round fights because he's been coddled so much. But there are some decent fights on that card, especially some young fighters fighting other young fighters. So we'll have to see what happens on that one. But we do know this: it's a Friday night fight card, and the co-main and main events are going to be pretty decent. So March 7th, we got something to look forward to there. So anyway. Let's see. Did I just one last thing I wanted to talk about with about my findings with our the Billy C Challenge lifetime stats. It shows me that when I was talking about this with Larry before, it shows me that when I got 20 guys that have anywhere from 100 plays or 100 fights they picked up to over 600 like I have in this challenge. And when you average all 20 guys, the winning percentage is 77%. 77%. Now, although I think we got a great group of guys that are knowledgeable and know boxing, it's very hard for me to believe, especially since I'm a gambler. I gamble. I'm a sports bettor. I don't brag about it like who does, because I don't talk about winnings or loss. I just don't talk about it. But I do bet sports. I'm a sports bettor. I'm also a craps player and a blackjack player. But my point is this: a 77, which is the average, a 77% winning percentage. If you're gambling on sports, you're rolling in the dough, man. 77%, you're rolling in the dough. Now, boxing is a little different because the lines are crazy. Like, for an example, I think I noticed that the Klitschko-Lepai fight, I think you got to lay like $3,000 to win 100 on Klitschko. I mean, that's how bad the odds are. And then if you bet Lepai, you only win 1,500 for 100. So it's skewed big time. But I think it shows us more. And no disrespect to everyone involved in the challenge and doing very well. But I think it shows us more that the fights are so predictable today that people can do well at picking winners. And I think that sucks. I think it's terrible that that boxing has become so predictable. And although my man Destro was harsh on Floyd Mayweather, he's right in a sense about Al Heyman and the way the perception of the WWE and boxing. It is a parallel right now. When you know the outcome, that's wrestling. The Billy C Challenge, if you're interested in being part of the challenge, all you got to do is email me, Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll hook you up. Now, it's too late for this week's fights unless you email me and you get these picks in first thing in the morning. But we have, I think, let's see, I think 11 or 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fights this week on the challenge. And they're in no specific order, but these are the fights that are on this week's Billy C Challenge. Gerard Robinson against Amir Oman. Angelo Santana against Hammer and Hank Lundy. Miguel I'm already sleeping. I'm already sleeping. Just this one's for you, Harold Letterman. I'm already sleeping. Miguel Vasquez is fighting. Oh, jeez. Oh my God. Looks like I'll be catching up on some sleep during that fight. He's taking on Denis Shakarov, who I hope puts some pressure on this guy. Marvelous Marvin, not Hagler, Sansona, a kid that I got to watch become a champion and everything else. He's a substitute. This was supposed to be a title defense for what is it, Sipuwi Vitka or something. But Marvin Sansona is fighting a Kafumi Shimoda on that. That's on our card as well. A kid that I think is the real deal, Anthony Ogogo from the Olympics from England. He's taking on Greg O'Neill. Zhao Shming is taking on Yorkthon Koki Jim. Samuel Vasquez against Berlin Abreu. That's another fight. And then we have the fights that are going to be on the Boxino tournament, which I'm really excited for. This is in the lightweight division. Yakubu Adamu versus Chris Rudd. Fedor Papazov against Peter Petrov. That fight is going to be a really good one. It's going to be a close one. Miguel Gonzalez against Miguel Angel Mendoza. And Fernando Carcamo against Samuel Nakwai. Those are the fights for the lightweight Boxino tournament. And the last fight that's on our challenge to round out 12, I threw it on there just because I respect the guy, even though I don't think he should be fighting. But Glenn Johnson against Jamie Velasquez. Those are our 12 fights on the challenge. Good luck to everybody involved with that. I would almost put Shannon Briggs on there, but I'm not so sure that Shannon Briggs' fight will even go down. That's the way that's the way he flies, man. That's the way he flies. But anyway, again, if you're interested in joining the challenge, email me, Billy at talkinboxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Well, now it's about that time again for something that my man Joey's been waiting for.
Wake up. It's time for It's too early for a trivia question.
Alrighty, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being brought to us by today, The Gentleman Boxer. Get yourself a copy of The Gentleman Boxer. It's a great read written by Ian Grumeza. You can get a copy of The Gentleman Boxer where all good books are sold, including Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. You can also visit Ian Grumeza's website, www.iangrumeza.com. That's IONGRUMEZA.com. Or you can visit BillyCBoxing and click one of the Gentleman Boxer banners to get yourself a copy of a great book. Trust me, you will love every page of this book. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. And their event next Friday night on Showbox, it's Mayweather Promotions, is going to present their three top young guns, J. Leon Love, Mickey Bay Jr., and Bado Jack. Get yourself some tickets right now by visiting our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster. It's right there. It says Turning Stone. It says Showbox. It says Mayweather. It's got a picture of J. Leon Love and Mickey Bay. Click it and tell them Billy C sent you. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is also being brought to us by the Titty Grab game. It's an adult break the ice game that actually comes with a titty. get yourself a game and have some fun. You can find out information about the Titty Grab game by visiting their website, www.tittygrab.com. Yesterday's It's Too Early for a Trivia question was, which former world heavyweight champion's pro boxing career spanned the most years? You know, for somebody that's been around the sport, that knows it, this is kind of an easy question. And my man, Coach K, got this one right. And he knew that Bob Fitzsimmons' first pro fight was 17 years old. In 1880, he continued boxing until 1909, which was 29 years. Then he came back and fought twice in 1914 at the age of 50. Which makes it him fighting 34 years after his first pro fight. Now, there have been other fighters, including our very own Sal Senecola, but this question was heavyweight champion. So congratulations to my man, Coach. He will win the prize. I emailed him, and he's going to be emailing me back. We got some stuff for him that's going on. So I guess he's got enough posters and cards and all that stuff, so we'll get him something else. Now, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia question is a good one. What two Italian brothers, see, I told my man Joey that this is going to be a question for him. Which two Italian brothers used Irish ring names? Now, a lot of fighters back in the day who were Italian used Irish names, and as a matter of fact, a lot of immigrants did not, especially Italians, did not use their real name because there was so much prejudice towards Italians, and they would change their names. But what makes this one unique is that they were two Italian brothers who both changed their names to Irish names, 100% Irish names. I'm going to give you the hint. Total Irish names. So which two Italian brothers used Irish ring names during their career? Let me just give you a hint right now because this is a tough one. They fought during the era between 1900 and 1940. So you can limit your search between those 40 years. 1900 to 1940, which two Italian brothers used Irish ring names? And they were pros. If you know this answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Good luck to everybody on that, especially you, Joey.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by LDL TV and Billy C's Boxino broadcast special. Now, this is for the middleweight Boxino special, which is next week. We are going to be broadcasting live, I believe, from the Horseshoe Casino on Thursday with the weigh-in. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you tune in. If you're not in the area to show up, we're going to have some fighters on as guests. We're also going to have Blakely Berger joining us, and Sal Senecola will be calling the action with me. For all the information on the broadcast, you can visit www.ldltv.com. On this day, February 20th, in 1933, Battling Shaw wins a 10-round decision over Johnny Jadick to win the World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place in New Orleans on this day, February 20th. On this day in 1999, Teron Millett knocks out Vince Phillips in the 5th round to win the IBF World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place on this day, February 20th, in New York City. On this day, February 20th, in 1938, Sixto Escobar wins a 15-round decision over Harry Jeffra to win the World Bantamweight title, and that fight took place in San Juan, Puerto Rico on this day in 1938. On this day in 1997, Jerry Penalosa wins a 12-round decision over Hiroshi Kashiwasha to win the WBC. I messed that one up. The WBC Junior Bantamweight title took place in Japan, of course. And finally, on this day, February 20th, in 1976, Muhammad Ali knocks out Jean-Pierre Koopman in the 5th round to retain the World Heavyweight title, and that took place at Roberto Clemente Stadium in Puerto Rico. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. But that's right, I have one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in tomorrow evening, same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider. Tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. That simple. Pick up the phone and call. All the information on the channel can be found on the website, www.fightnow.com. See you tomorrow. Ciao, baby.